December 5th, meeting of the Traffic Advisory Committee to order. Roll call for members. Myself, Bill Renaud, Town Engineer. I see Joe Conway, Public Works Director. I see Kathy Toohey, at-large member. Lieutenant Anderson, I saw you at one point. Are you still here?
Yep, I'm here, Bill.
Oh, there you are. Yep. There you go. We got Dan and Lois. We got Matt Keeley. And I think that's our group for today. All right. Pledge of Allegiance.
On.
What's that? Oh, and D. Casey. Yeah, there you are. There you go. Thank you. And why don't we go to Pledge of Allegiance? Dan, you want to take it away?
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible.
Liberty and justice.
God. Visible with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okie dokie. Item 4, meeting minutes. Folks, I sent that out a little late. I don't know if everyone's had an opportunity to review. Or if you have any comments, questions. Otherwise, I'd be happy to take a motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 17th,
Make a motion,
2025.
Bill.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Dan. Roll call vote. Dan.
Yay.
Myself is a yay. Matt Keeley.
Aye.
All right. Joe Conway.
Yes.
Joe Anderson.
Aye.
Kathy Toohey.
Aye.
D. Casey.
Yes.
Kiddos. All right. That moves. Moving on to item 5, public engagement. So way we do this, folks, is if you have anything that you would like to discuss with the Traffic Advisory Committee that's not on the agenda, we will move to public comment for each of the agenda items today. The floor is yours. This is the time when you speak. Please raise your hand if you'd like to talk. All right. Seeing nobody. Let's move in and groove, and hopefully we keep it at this pace. We're going to be done quick.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would like to comment on the Greenwood and Oak Street intersection.
Yep. So that's item 7 for today. So do you want to wait until we get to that?
I'm sorry.
Item?
Sure.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Item 6, 525 Salem Street. I believe Mr. McGrail, you're going to present this?
I am, Mr. Chair.
Okie dokes. I think you should be good to share if you need to.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail, representing the applicants that are currently before the Zoning Board of Appeals on this matter. It's Iona, an entity by the name of Iona. And the property is at 525 Salem Street in Wakefield. With me today on the Zoom are some representatives and support staff. First of all, David Lane is here. He's the Iona Design Manager. Linda Lee is here. She's our engineer and project manager. And Tyler Young is our civil engineer on the project. I think probably the best thing to do, I guess, is I'm going to give you a little introduction about Iona, but before I do that, or as I do that, I think I'll share my screen to show you the location. So if I could share the screen, I'm getting a message, Mr. Chair, sharing is not turned on.
I believe it is. Let me see. Try that.
Brian, just a quick question. Is David Lane the former DPW director in Danvers?
He is not that person.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Just because I know him, and that's not the same guy.
Thank you. Just for clarification, I was just curious.
Brian, you good?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So you guys can see the screen?
The bigger the better.
Okay. This just shows you the site, which is, this is on the left-hand side is coming from downtown Wakefield, and you go through the intersection at Pleasure Island Road, and you're heading to Linfield, and the site is on the left here. It's highlighted in yellow. The site is surrounded by 2 office buildings, the Salon Sales Building, and then the CRP Building, which are office buildings. And then you head further to the right of the screen, and you're heading towards Linfield. This is I think, a unique opportunity and somewhat of an honor for Wakefield that Wakefield has been selected by Iona. Iona is a major electric vehicle charging network that's forming throughout the country. It was formed in July of 2023. It's a joint venture of leading global automakers that include BMW, Mercedes-Benz, General Motors, Stellantis, Hyundai, Honda, Kia, and Toyota. And their joint mission is to build reliable high-speed charging network stations that support all EV drivers, not just their brands, throughout the United States. It matters nationally. Their goal is to have 100 stations in place by sometime in 2026. This demonstrates their accelerated deployment and goal of really providing a reliable means of charging networks so people can rely on EV vehicles as they travel throughout the country. And this obviously has a nice location because of its proximity to 128. This means that Iona is not like a startup just guessing something might work. As I've mentioned, this is an effort by obviously significant automakers with significant financial backing. I think this provides some unique opportunities to Wakefield. It provides, obviously, when drivers are charging here, they'll be here for approximately 20 to 40 minutes. So it could benefit, some local businesses. Dunkin' Donuts is right in the area. And also, you could walk to Market Street here, which is in Linfield. So it also provides potential boost in tourism for Wakefield. Travelers that want to choose routes that they'll map out, that they have reliable charging networks. So it will bring people into Wakefield as part of a destination. It's an attractive investment for our businesses in town. Wakefield has a significant investment in the Audubon Road area with a number of the hotel there. It has the office buildings. It has a lot of industrial use down there. It has residential. So to have this infrastructure right outside that, big economic area for the town that supports it and people that go to those places, I think is a benefit. And it also positions our town as forward-thinking and aligned with national mobility trends. It also provides support for our residents. These are high-speed charging stations, so Wakefield residents will have a nice place to go where they can charge their vehicles, and there's obviously environmental benefits. So that kind of gives a little bit of a background, some history on this site. Your committee may remember that back in around 2020, this site was approved. It went to the Board of Appeals. It was before your committee at the time, and it was approved for 23 residential units, a multifamily building. The owner of the property at that time decided not to go forward with the project, so it was never built. So there is some history on this site as far as your committee is concerned, which I will get into as we go forward with the presentation. So that lays out kind of the background of what Iona is and what they want to do here. With that said, I'm going to switch my screen. And as I've mentioned, we're currently before the ZBA. On the permitting process. Can you see this screen? Great. So this is the layout of the site. 1 second. Sorry about that. I have my canine companions with me today. But in any event, quiet, Mav. In any event, this is the layout of the site. So you can see on the left is the Pleasure Island intersection. And when we went through the multi-family permitting on this, if you remember, the intersection to the left is Pleasure Island Road. So the goal of the TAC was to move the access point as far away from that intersection as possible. So we're staying consistent with that on this plan. At the time, the TAC wanted a 24-foot aisle here, which we're again kind of matching what was done for the multifamily building. This will have 8 units or 8 charging kind of stations that will accommodate 16 vehicles at one time. This is kind of an amenity area that will be on the site that will have, vending machines and some tables for people while they're waiting for their cars to charge. There'll also be restrooms here. It will not be a manned station, but there'll be security cameras throughout this that will be monitored. And we obviously can certainly, link or provide whatever the police department needs in that regard. It will be a 24-hour operation. This is the landscaping plan that was presented to the zoning board. It's a very extensive landscaping plan that they're happy with. There's a lot of trees that are being put on this site. You can see that there's transformers that go on this site. There's obviously an electrical support for the grid to be able to handle this. The zoning board, initially, we talked about putting those up front. The ZBA said, no, we want those out of view from the public. So we put those back here in the back of the site. So we've got some, additional parking, but most of the people that are here will be obviously charging. As I mentioned, this will accommodate virtually all vehicle charging types, and the average charge time is going to be anywhere from 20 to 60 minutes that people will be here to be able to get a full charge on their vehicles. As far as trip generation, I submitted what they looked at for anticipated for Wakefield. I'm going to share that on my screen. And if you've had a chance to look at it, and I'll share it now, it's really not a large trip generator here. As I've mentioned, they have 8 dispensers, 16 bays. They're forecasting about 14 visits a day to the site. That's what they're forecasting. That's pretty normal. Might grow a little bit, but that's about what they're talking about. As far as comparison goes, the multifamily development that was already permitted here, that had 59 trips entering and 59 exiting. So that had a total of 118 trips a day. So with that said, I hope that gives a good idea of what we're proposing here. And, as I said, the benefits nationally, locally, statewide. The other thing I think this might provide potentially is this is a good thing for Wakefield to be doing statewide. It's a good message to the state that supports these types of facilities that, Wakefield again is in the forefront of this. So it potentially, obviously no one knows for sure, but could open us up for maybe some grants or funding opportunities, or certainly to put us in a good standing or with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So with that said, Mr. Chair, happy to answer any questions, as is my team on this matter.
Sure. I mean, just out of the gate for me, so did we look at this again after the residential as like a pickleball bubble or something? Is that the same site? Is it the same site?
Yeah, we talked about that, but that never went forward.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that came to the TAC.
Yeah, that was just an initial discussion, Mr. Chair, but it never developed.
All right. So just out of the gate for me, the only thing I'm looking at is with the residential development and the other one in the area, we were looking at sidewalks as part of the previous project. So I think we would ask for that here as well for pedestrian access to get there. Folks want to walk to different locations in town or whatever while they're charging away, they'd have that opportunity. So that'd be something that I'd be looking at. Aside from that, I think I'll turn it to the rest of the committee for questions and comments.
Brian, 2 quick ones. How many units did you say it was that we looked at before?
23.
23. And do you recall what the date of that meeting was?
Yeah, so that was in 2020.
Yeah.
And it was during COVID, but in the traffic report that Matt, they factored in at the time, based on that.
Okay. So my only comment is, I mean, I want to look back at what we wrote up back for that, but my only comment would be just to verify that the site distance is okay. Yeah, I looked at it on Google Street View and it seems okay, but just with this being, 5 years later, just want to make sure that, there's no overgrowth or anything that would need to be cleared just to make sure that people can get out safely. I have no worries about trip generation, but just want to make sure the access is safe.
So Brian, they would be taking both left and right hand turns out of that driveway.
Yes,
Okay. And Matt, from what you saw, is that does it look like there's enough distance to take that left hand turn, being so close to where it splits the two lanes?
Yeah, it looks like it, but I would just want that verified on the ground.
Yeah, I think a lot of the crashes that we see are in a configuration like this where they're pulling out almost across 3 lanes of traffic, right? You have your turning lanes further up at the intersection, so people stop early to go into 2 lanes, even though it's not delineated yet for 2 lanes, and then they're coming across that outbound lane. So I just want to make sure that there's enough sightline visibility there. I'm not concerned about the trip generation at all, but I think the 14 trips is probably wouldn't make financial sense. So I think it's much higher than that. I mean, 14 trips, even if they charge $50 for a charge, just wouldn't seem like it would add up. But even if it was triple that, I wouldn't be concerned. This is compared to what else could go there with a much higher trip generation. I wouldn't be concerned about that. It seems like a very low estimate, but regardless. As far as site security, Brian, so you said it would be monitored 24/7, or it would just be recording 24/7?
I think it'd be recording. Dave
Yeah.
Lane, can you answer that on Dave or Linda on the monitoring?
Sure. Yeah, it'll be monitored. We don't have active, people watching 24/7, but we do have systems there just to protect the asset and protect users as well. So
The reason, David, I bring that up is that, and I'm not sure what you could do as far as signage or if you have anything already planned out, but we're seeing a trend across the Commonwealth, and it's happened a couple of times here in Wakefield of these kind of impromptu street meetups with dozens of race cars, really, for the lack of a better way to put it. And I just see this as an unattended site where there's that potential for people to get off the highway, and sometimes they just they're car enthusiasts and meet up, and other times they want to do things like street takeovers, like we've seen throughout the country, and race up and down the streets, and that would be a jumping off point for some of that illegal activity. So without an attendant there to call us if something like that started to happen, I could see that happening at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning where there's no one to call the police. And, eventually we'd get calls from neighbors that are, being woken up by whatever they're doing, racing engines and peeling out and things like that. So I don't know how we could maybe do something a little bit creative in terms of signage to try to curtail that, or at least if an officer is patrolling the area and sees that something like that is happening, there's some signage that would prompt them to enforce the fact that they're not there charging their vehicles, and and as such they would have some type of authority to tell them, hey, you're technically trespassing here because you're not actually using the site for what it's intended on. That would be one of my major concerns. We've seen that at gas stations where an attendant calls us and says that there's 10, 20, 30 vehicles in the parking lot, and they're racing around the parking lot, but there's somebody actually there to do that. With this site, it would be unattended. So, being in such close proximity to the highway, that would be a concern of mine.
yeah, it's a fair point. We struggle with that down here. I'm down North Carolina, so you see it in the news a lot as well. I'll bring it up to our operations team. It gets feedback from them. Maybe it's something, if it does become an issue, we can add some monitoring. But I can't answer that right now, but certainly want to address the concern, and we don't want people doing burnouts and donuts and hitting equipment and things like that too, and just causing damage and being a nuisance as well. But adding signage, I don't believe that'd be an issue either. We can put something on there to give some sort of
no loitering.
Just kind of shoot people away.
Okay, that's all I have, Bill.
Dan?
Yeah, will that have any kind of canopy over the top of it and any type of fire suppression system? I worry with electric vehicles.
Yes, Yeah, and we're also going to meet with, I know Chief Purcell's on. I'm actually going to reach out to him today to set up a specific meeting with him because he wanted to have that. So we're going to set that up for him. But yes, there is the canopy ban, and there will be fire suppression.
Okay, anybody else? Any members of the public that want to speak? All right, seeing
Bill.
none. Bill.
Bill.
Go ahead. Sure,
Sorry.
please.
Brian and Chief, can I be included in that meeting too, if my schedule allows?
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. So what is the board's thoughts here? Do we want to make a motion here? I mean, I think the site distance component, we can probably get that information provided to us and just confirm before we were to forward a letter over to the ZBA, if folks are good with that.
I don't think we need to bring them back for another meeting, Bill. I think.
No, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, if you're satisfied with, they provide some signage for our concerns and the site distances are adequate. I think the trip generation is low, and as long as they can safely make those turns.
Yep, I'm on board.
I agree.
All right. So somebody want to make a motion for it?
I make a motion that we approve and submit this back to the ZBA as presented with the two modifications or concerns that we have.
So comments on site distance and on sidewalk.
And signage for loitering
and signage for loitering. Okay. Can I get a second for that, folks?
Second from D.
Second from D. Roll call vote. Dan.
Yay.
Lois. Okay. Where am I? Lieutenant Anderson.
Aye.
Kathy Toohey.
Aye.
Joseph Conway.
Aye.
Matt Keeley.
Aye.
And D.
Aye.
Okie dokes, folks. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bill, would it be helpful if I forwarded you the traffic report from 2020 for you and Matt?
Yeah, I would prefer that.
Great.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I'll send it to you now. Yep. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Terrific. All right, folks. Moving on to item 7, Oak Green and Greenwood. So update on the temporary deployment. So for those that don't know, we have removed the temporary configuration for winter operations as of Monday or Tuesday of this week with the weather that we had coming. We've received a few comments that I forward along to you. A couple folks for, a couple of folks not so supportive. What I'm going to do is turn it over to Tim to talk about what we tweaked based on the last meeting and what we've seen out there for observations.
Good morning. I'm going to share my screen showing just the plan with a couple of markups on it. All right, so last time we were here talking about this, I presented this plan as well as a temporary layout that we were going to put up. Based on the comments we heard a lot of comments in regards to the stop sign at Oak Street being taken away at Oak and Green, as well as how tight the corner was at Green Street turning onto Oak. And additionally, we heard that it was tight coming off of Greenwood Ave turning onto Oak as well. We did speak to the school bus coordinator as well as the fire department, and they didn't report any issues driving through here. However, I also understand that, we all understand it can be difficult and can feel constrained if everything's a little tight. So we took a look at those two tighter intersections and looked at revising the curb line a little to make the turn a little softer. The goal of making it a turn is to help slow people down and bring them to a stop, so we don't want to get rid of that entirely. But we are looking at it softening up that curb line so that it's a little bit easier for people making that turn. Additionally, here at Green Street, we aren't planning on keeping the hatch this way. We'll keep it at just a double yellow line coming right up to the stop line. We also added back in the stop sign here at the recommendation of the TAC, and that seemed to alleviate a lot of the problems people were having turning onto Oak Street from Green Street. over on Greenwood Ave as well, we also looked at softening that turn up a little bit. And the revised curb line will likely be back, where this red dashed line is as well. Beyond that, the curb ramps will be adjusted based on these curb lines. They'll generally be in the same area, but we'll adjust them to fit as well. Overall, I think this temporary layout demonstrated pretty well how the traffic layout would work, and it showed that it did calm traffic based on the feedback I've received. Um, Overall, it was good to see how this was going to lay out and how this was going to work prior to any sort of implementation. A lot of our feedback, as Bill said, has been on both sides of it. Much of the feedback based on just a change in the intersection and people not liking the change and how it's laid out in terms of just confusion. I have received also that over time, in terms of feedback, people seem to understand how it works and there's less confusion as time went on. So we're looking to go to the town council and recommend that, or we're looking to see if they want to or to permanently install this and look to probably do the work in the spring should they want to go forward with it. Is there any questions on any of this?
Thanks, Tim. So folks, just to give you a heads up, so I'll be back in front of the town council on Monday with this to talk about the project, and I plan to give any recommendations that we have here tonight to them. So I turn it over to committee members first for comments and feedback.
Tim, one question. My internet is still not with me fully, so I don't have access to some of my files. Did you say that the stop sign on Oak Street is part of the pilot right now?
Yes.
It
Yep.
is.
We ended up putting it back in, and that seemed to the feedback from that addition was positive in terms of people. Then people were complaining about sight distance and having a hard time turning
Yeah.
onto Oak Street, and that seemed to help that.
Okay. And no issues with running stop sign?
I mean, there was the standard issues you got with people running through the stop signs. Um, Most of the reports of the running through the stop sign that were actually on Green Street at the Greenwood Ave intersection, the new temporary stop sign.
Okay.
That seemed to be where most of it was happening. Once the Oak Street sign was put back in, there wasn't as much there, just because that's a long-standing stop sign that people were used to being there. So it wasn't as much of an adjustment for people to stop there.
Great. And just one more comment. I like swapping out the hatching for a double yellow center line. Just gives people a little bit more room to soften that curve. So I like that change.
Okay. Anybody else from the committee?
Can we talk about the,
No, go ahead, Catherine.
sorry,
Go ahead, Kathy.
can we talk about the crosswalk, the mid-block crosswalk?
Mm-hmm.
So I think last time we had talked about putting it back because it previously or currently exists at the stop sign at Oak Street. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, it currently exists on a diagonal basically from the stop sign at Oak Street to the right-hand side of that driveway, between the two driveways that are shown here.
Okay.
Right. And I believe you had asked, if I remember correctly, you wanted to move it to the other side of the Green Street intersection, right? Is that where we were? Is that what the question was?
Well, my thought was to put it at the Oak Street stop sign.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. On the other side of, yep.
Exactly. Yes. Just because I just feel like that crosswalk where it is right now, you have cars coming from both Oak and Green that are accelerating away from a stop sign.
Yep.
I don't feel like they're gonna be very aware of a pedestrian in that crosswalk.
Yeah.
So we could certainly look at moving it to the other side. Some of the concern would be that we'd be moving it right next to this driveway.
But I think we can push that stop sign back a little bit to accommodate it, right? I mean, I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah,
stop bar.
Yeah,
that can definitely move back if it's a stop controlled.
I just feel like that's a lot safer.
Yep. No, we definitely talked about it last time. That should have been on this update. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. I also just had a question kind of in response to one of the emails we got about the parklet.
Yeah.
Is that what exactly is that going to look like? Are there going to be
Well,
benches and trash cans, or are we just talking about a pollinator garden and some grass?
pollinator garden, maybe a lower, planting type of like ground cover, I'm thinking, rather than grass. Grass can get a little, can be difficult to maintain consistently. So, we'll be working through what those are with the park and tree as we get into that. But we've also potentially look at a small rain garden if we can fit it in, if the stormwater works. But we've evaluated those things. But ultimately, from a traffic standpoint, that's not really part of what we do here. So, but we're not putting barrels or any of those things. That I saw that comment. I don't know where that came from. We weren't proposing that. I don't think anyone's asked for us to put anything like that there. So, we're kind of looking at this more as a streetscape beautification kind of thing. So similar to like what we did on Albion. We had the bump outs, we have some planting areas, kind of that same idea, just obviously a little bit more planting area here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Lieutenant, I think you had a question.
Yeah, so I appreciate the stop sign back on Oak Street. I think that's definitely necessary. And cutting back a little bit on some of the turns, I think is definitely going to help. As far as Tim was talking about the temporary layout, I know we've received a lot of comments about it's confusing, and it is, because whenever you do something on a temporary basis, you really can't mimic what it's going to look like in real life. So I just want to throw that out there to the public and the committee. It's we've seen it on Salem Street too. You can take a roadway, and when you actually have better defined curbing, it changes driving behavior. Not everybody's, of course, but that's why things like a road diet work. But when Salem Street over by 128 was repaved and there was some better curbing put in, it makes the road feel more defined, and I think it changes some driving behavior. So I think you really can't get a good sense of what it's going to look like with the posts, the flex posts. It just kind of to see how the traffic would weave in and out, and if they can make the turns, and and all of that. So I would just tell anybody that's looking at this and kind of not too optimistic about it, when it's actually laid out with the curbing in place and the line painting and things that can't be done on a temporary basis. I believe it would work a lot better than what you see with the posts. Having said that, with those flex posts, we didn't see people constantly wiping out the flex posts or any collisions there that I can recall during that temporary rollout of it. So that's a good thing, and that's things that we would definitely be looking for with that temp layout. As far as the parklet goes, I think you'd be remiss to not try to improve upon roadway if you're making these modifications. I think it's just like you said, it's going to enhance it, and to not do that, I don't know, if I lived there, I wouldn't be too happy that it's just all asphalt and no improvement there. So something that's low maintenance is what you're proposing, and I think that makes complete sense to try to improve it, much like Albion Street.
Joe, bringing up like the flex post piece, though, I mean, to my knowledge, I don't think we had any issues. I mean, I don't think we were deployed out there, any of them. So, I think it operated, as intended to the best that it can, obviously, without actually having real curb there, to kind of build on your point.
Yep. So I think if this is approved by town council, I think once it's actually in, it'll make a lot more sense, the curbing and the line painting. So it looks good.
Great. Any other members of the committee? All right, seeing none, we'll turn it over to the public. Helen, you were asking earlier if I can get name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Helen Van Schoten, and I'm at 7 Orchard Avenue, so very close to the changed intersection. And I want to make a statement in favor of the change. We've lived here for about 20 years, and that intersection has been an issue the whole time. My family and I drive, walk, and bicycle through that intersection daily. And we've noted over the years cars overshooting or driving through the stop signs northbound on Oak Street coming from Maine, and also northbound from Greenwood. And the cars driving south from Green Street and Oak Street don't yield. And we believe this is due to poor visibility caused by the long distances and also the irregular geometry of the intersection. So we were really relieved when the redesign was proposed a few years ago. And at that time, we commented and were very glad that the option that we were in favor of was the one chosen. The temporary installations did surprise us, and perhaps temporary signage in advance of a permanent or in advance of the intersection would be helpful. But after the first drive-through, we definitely felt safer at that intersection, and we're glad for the change. We think that drivers are able to see each other's cars, and then definitely found that the cars were stopping more frequently at the stop signs because you can see other cars. The visibility and the perpendicular geometry eliminated the guesswork involved in the previous configuration. And as far as the green space goes, I do have one comment, and that is a suggestion that to consider putting a street lamp there. The east-westbound segment of Green Street is very dark, and that section might be difficult to see, especially with the change. So just a comment that traffic volume has increased significantly everywhere since I moved to Eastern Massachusetts 20 years ago, and definitely no exception in Wakefield. And my family and I appreciate your efforts.
Great. So just on the lighting piece, so we've had some dialogue with Gas and Light about adding a light head to the utility pole by the kind of right in front of 24 and 26, like in between there by that garage, to improve the lighting there. So there's a couple of folks have brought that as a comment. So so they're willing to do that. So that'll be something that we add to it as well. Mr. Sawyer, name and address, please.
Yep, Alistair Sawers and my wife here as well, Jackie Sawers. We're 111 Green, so as you can see from the plan, we're right on the intersection of Green and Oak. Mm-hmm. So we're also speaking in support. We've had some dialogue and been involved in some of the feedback. So thank you, Tim. We certainly want to say we support the addition of the stop sign on Oak at Oak and Green. That, when we had the temporary configuration, made a big difference. There was definitely confusion prior to that. Still a bit of confusion on the left turn off Oak heading northbound onto Green, but that, as the trial went on, pretty much evaporated. We do have I personally, I'll let my wife speak, have concerns about the softening of that corner, because that is one of the key issues now as the temporary installation has been removed. It's illustrated the issue. Speeds have gone way back up. People accelerate very hard through the whole junction. Give them the excuse that they're worried about cars coming in down Oak southbound. And it's very clear that the temporary alignment did slow them down. And if you soften it too much, you end up returning that issue. And they do cut, as noted previously, cut across the southbound people on Green Street. So the other kind of proof of the whole concept is the number of, literally the day these were removed, the number of instances of horns being triggered and the occasional greetings being shouted at each other had returned, whereas we'd had peace and quiet and lower speeds for the whole period of of the temporary alignment once the stop sign had been put in place, which was after the first week. So we're highly supportive, and I'll quickly hand to my wife.
And turn the camera on me. Hi. Yes, I just wanted to bring up a couple points. The Oak Street stop sign has been mentioned, and again, we support its remaining there. One of the board members did mention, or committee members, moving the stop sign back. And I would encourage against that. The sight line at that curve of Oak and Green Streets has two concrete barriers that are on private property. And if you move the stop sign back behind those, you're going to decrease the sight line a lot. We regularly use that sidewalk. We have a dog we walk. And even now and then we have to make sure somebody sees us. So I think wherever it's moved to, we're going to have that problem. And I wonder if one of those signs where you push the button, it blinks yellow, like down near the Wakefield Dog Park, could be put at the crosswalk just to enhance visibility. My only other comment is regarding the green space. And Tim, I know you mentioned this isn't really your purview, but I do want to mention we have a dog, and we want to make sure that these green spaces, if it's possible, don't become, excuse me, de facto dog parks for doing their business. So I'm just wondering if there's a way to put some sort of landscaping in that keeps people from walking right across the green with their park instead of using the sidewalk and sticking to the green space that's closest to the road for the dog to do its business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Bill, love the picture behind you. Recognize that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're looking at evaluating the type of planting, so that's definitely something we'll look into for sure. As for the location for the crosswalk and how we make that happen, I think we also talked about kind of tweaking, how that intersection, even though we're softening the curve, to kind of push the crosswalk a little bit further and change how that ramp's configured. So I think we can kind of hit all of the comments here with the final design once we get into it. So I appreciate the comments. Anybody else from the public that'd like to speak on item? I think we're on item 5.
Yes, hi, Bill. I can't, it's Julie Scott. I can't find the raise hand feature on my.
Julie, name and address, please, for the record.
321 Main Street. I wanted to just, I don't know if any of my email writing made you think that I was in favor of pavement. I actually like the addition of the green space in the area. I'm just not in favor of spending $25,000 on a grant in that area when I go to a lot of the baseball fields. I already emailed you guys about this.
Sure. Yep.
There's a lot of people have been asking for upgrades to those areas. I really don't see the need for a garden there. I echo one of the previous speakers' concerns about dogs. I did write to you about potential benches, because if it were to lean toward becoming some sort of a dog area, people will be asking for benches, and they will be complaining about trash and green dog poop bags, and they'll be asking for barrels and things like that. So I wouldn't want that to happen. That's why it's nice to be a green space, but to make it overly inviting creates other issues. And I don't think any parent is going to want their kid hanging around there and crossing those 5-way intersection areas with their bike to hang out there. So it's pretty to look at, but I would caution against making it too nice for people to maybe leave their nips and cigarette butts and coffee cups and dog poop bags and such. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, folks. So again, I'm planning to be in front of the council on Monday to discuss this. I think, we've heard a couple of comments and a couple of tweaks here. I think what I'll do is I'll have staff work on that this morning, try to get an update to the council for the presentation on Monday, based on these comments, and I'll relay, what we discussed today. I'm assuming that we're all still supportive. I don't know if we necessarily need to take a vote, because we already kind of voted to move this forward. So, but if we think that makes sense, I'm happy to take a vote to move forward with the changes. All right. Hearing radio silence. So I think we'll assume this is good to go. So we'll bring that over to the council on Monday. So aside from that, I think if there's anything else that wasn't anticipated that folks want to talk about on the committee, the floor is yours. All right. Seeing nothing on that. Folks, so just a heads up, on our last meeting, I went to the council to for the parking modifications on Main Street, and part of that was approved, not the full recommendation. So the council wasn't supportive of the 1 hour parking part of our recommendation. They were supportive of the restriction in the morning to allow the traffic flow to be improved. So that's what's going to be advanced. Just want to give you folks a heads up on that. Going forward, that's kind of how I'm going to do this. So as we go to the council, I'll let you folks know what was approved, if there's changes and that type of thing. Besides that, my staff is currently working on crosswalk policy, RRFB policies for us to look at. So I'm looking to probably circulate those early next year, and anticipating probably looking for a vote to recommend to the council as a policy in probably March or so. So just want to give you a heads up there on kind of upcoming stuff. Aside from that, I'm happy to take a motion to adjourn at 9:18.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Seconded. All in favor? Everybody. All right, folks. You have an awesome weekend. And I like the fact that we're getting these things done in under an hour. Well done.
Thanks, Bill. Nice job.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Mark.
We'll talk to you.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks.